Yo, what up guys, it's Kezin. We're back with another video. We're going to be talking about monk clickies in this one. This is going to contain probably some of the most useful items. It's not going to contain every single little clicky there is. The list would be huge. If you do like this video, please make sure to like it. And also please subscribe to the channel. For the latest updates on the list, make sure you visit the website. I'm not going to make a new video every time I update the list. So let's get started. We'll just start in Classic and I'll work our way down. So for Classic, for Monks, we have the Amulet of Necropotence. This is just like a clicky, and it also has Skeleton Illusions. It's good against Dispels. J-Boots, this is going to give you run speed. This is a no-brainer here. Pegasus Feather Cloak is going to give you an option for Levitation. This is pretty rare, so keep that in mind. Shield of the Immaculate is Cure Disease. This isn't like 100% required, but it's really nice to have. It's an instant cast. Next we have Shrunken Goblin skill. It should say Skull Earring. I need to fix that. This does not stack with the Monk Epic, but it's a good clicky to have for an instant cast before you get your Epic. Next we have Kunark. Bracer of the Hidden. This will give you right-click See Invisible, and you can click this on anybody. And we have the 1.0 Epic Celestial Fist. This is a must-have for monks. It's got 40% haste on it. Also will give you some attack and some armor class. Next we have Fungus Covered Greatstaff. You don't have to get this. Make sure you get the pre-nerf version so you can use it as a monk. It's good for regen if you're like soloing. Excuse me, but otherwise you really wouldn't need to. You don't really need to get that otherwise. Next we have Stave of Shielding. This is actually a proc, not a clicky, but it has major shielding on it. And it's pretty good for Kunark era. Drops in Charduck randomly off of mob. So this is a nice little pickup. Next we have Regal Bane of Bathazid. This is a Charduck quest, and this isn't really 100% necessary, but it's a good item overall, so I threw it on here. It's going to give you a 25-point damage shield, but it only has 5 charges. But you can actually go to the NPC at the zoning of Charduck and recharge it whenever you want. Next we have Robe of the Whistling Fists. This is from the Monk Epic after you turn in the 2 pipes. And you turn the first robe in with the 2 pipes, you get this. It'll give you a right-click clicky, a 25% haste, and it's going to give you some armor and some strength as well. It does not stack with the actual Epic. This is a version 2 haste. And same thing here with Whistling Fist. This has the same clicking on it. This is, if you think it's worth doing, it's kind of up to you. I personally probably wouldn't get it, but it's a nice little clicky. Velious, we have Abashi's Rob of Disempowerment. This is a right-click dispel. It's going to dispel 3 at a time. This is a really good item. I don't know, even like as a monk, people used to use it as a pulling stick, but nowadays you don't really need it for that. But it's kind of nice to have as just like a convenience item. But honestly, I think it's probably better on like a necromancer because they're a caster. Next, we have Cloak of Thorns. This will give you a right-click 4-point damage shield. Not necessary if you don't want it. Eye Patch of Plunder is an option for haste, but if you have your Monk Epic, you don't need this. It's going to give you 20% haste buff. Next we have Girdle of Living Thorns. This is going to give you Spike Coat. This is probably more for tanks, but I left it on here because it is decent for a monk as well. Monks are fairly tanky other than when you compare them against the actual tank classes. It's going to give you some AC and some damage shield. Again, completely optional. Hallgresh Elder Beads is good for scouting if you don't want to run up an FD. Another optional item, but it's kind of nice to have in certain situations. Flowers of Functionality will give you right-click 50 all resists. 1 type of flower per resist. This is a Plane of Mischief quest, and to get all 5 of these, it's gonna take you a while, so don't expect to like get all these really fast or anything. Next we have the Monk class set. You can actually get these from Plane of Growth, Kale, Thurgan, or Sky Shrine. There's all kinds of different types depending on your faction. The robe has a right-click heal on it. It's a really long cast time, not a huge deal, but kind of nice to have if you're trying to gain some life. Silver Moon wrist wraps. This will summon some ninja stars that will have has a 100 range on them, so the range isn't very good, but it's a decent item. Silver Moon Pants is a right-click stamina buff. I think it's 23 stamina if I remember properly. So you can pick up any of these if you want them. Next we have Polymorph Wand Forest Fairy. I don't know if this comes out in Velious. It comes out sometime between Velious and Pop. I want to say maybe Luclin or Pop is actually when it really comes out, but I don't know which one, so I just put it in Velious first. This is a better option than the Pegasus Cloak because it's got a faster cast time on it, and also you can just buy it from the store, from the illusion part of the store for 750 points. Next we have Ring of Dane Frostweaver the 4th. This is going to give you regen and damage shield and attack ratings. This is a pretty good ring for monks. I believe it's probably best in slot in era. Next we have Gorilla's Chromatic Ring. This will give you a right click, 10 all resists. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. No, this is not right click, 10 all. This is like a mini Dane ring. This comes from doing the killing the warders or whatever the dragons after you kill Caraferm. The newer dragons, so not the rare ones, but the new ones after you kill them. There's a quest where you kill all 4 of those guys, and you can like do a quest to get this ring. Again, it's not like a huge thing or anything, but if you happen to be farming those, you might want to pick this up. Next, we have Tri-Plated Golden Hackle Hammer. This will give you arc shielding, which is an improvement over major shielding from the stave of shielding. It says a 0.1 second cast time, so you can kind of click it whenever you want, get arc shielding. Moving on to Luclin, we have Bracelet of the Shadow Hive. This is a right-click shrink with a 1 second cast time, and you can cast it on yourself or anybody in your group. Really nice quality of life item. You don't have to get it, but if you do want it, this is something to target for. Crystallized Serpent Eye. Again, not a big deal. It's going to give you 4-point damage shield. Dusty Sura's Worker Pouch. I think this is the best throwing item up until Luclin, I believe. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it is. So you're going to want to pick this up. It's going to summon some like Ninja Star type item. That will, like, they're like fangs, I believe. It has 170 range, so that's going to be an improvement over the 100 range from your set robe in Velious. Next, these are just optional. You really probably wouldn't want to bother with these in most cases, but it's right click. Gloves of Warding will give you right click 50 magic resist. Next, we have Ring of Resistance. This is going to give you 10 all resists in the form of an AA. Not really necessary, but if you want to pick it up, you can. Sigil Earring of Veracity, again, not necessary, but it gives you right-click Acumen. If you're blind, maybe if you're a human, this might be nice for you. Next, we have Torque of the Wormlord. This is more a tank item because it has a right-click effect that's going to give you 300 health, 30 stamina, and 20 charisma. It is on the Brel's line of buffs, so it's a pretty good item, but I would say, you can pick this up if you want, but it's more of a tank item. Unless you're like tanking all the time as a monk, which is probably not very doubtful if you're playing on a TLP. So next we have Wand of Imperceptibility. This is a right-click shrink, but it's only going to be self-only, and it's 8-second cast time, so it's not as good as Bracelet of the Shadow Hive. But that bracelet is pretty rare, so if you need a shrink item, you can farm this. Wistful Tunic of the Void is going to give you a shielding type buff. I think it's shielding. I don't know which line it is actually off the top of my head, but it's going to give you 225 health, 40 cold resist, and magic resist. And these 2 items here fuse member whatever of the Ykesha and Yetterim studded leather boots. These are both self-only sows. The easier one is these leather boots because it comes from Lord Siru. In most cases, you're just going to be getting these because they're fairly common, and people kill Lord Siru a lot because he just has so many good items. And it's fairly easy, but it's got a 12-second cast time, so you can cast Sow on yourself. Moving on to Planes of Power, we have Band of Primordial Energy. This is probably a low priority for a monk. It's going to give you some extra AC. It's better for tanks, so if you have tanks that need it, in most cases you probably want to pass to them. We have Bangle of Disease Warding. This is going to give you Resist Disease, it's an instant cast as well. And this is from the Grimoire Plaguebringer Crypt of Decay Alternate Axis quest. That's low priority, but you can pick that up for fun. Club of Slime is a cold proc slow for 10%, so you can use this like on the Emperor, Suzura, and Luclin, for example. And you don't have to get that, but if you want that slow, it's a nice little pickup. Cloak of Retribution will give you 20 points of damage shield. Up to you what your importance on that is. Earring of Celestial Energy is going to give you right-click 20 all resist in the form of an AA. Pretty low priority. Enlightenment gear is the ornate gear for monks in Planes of Power. You have the you have the chest wraps, which will give you Shield of the Arcane. You're definitely going to want to pick that up. That's really nice. You have Gauntlets of Enlightenment, which actually give you the same clicky as your Monk Epic 1.0. So if you don't, for some reason you haven't done your Monk 1.0 or you don't want to, you can pick these up. And lastly, we have Leggings of Enlightenment. This will give you some stamina. I don't remember the exact amount of stamina it gives you. I want to say 40 or 50, but I don't know off the top of my head. But if you're max stamina, they're basically useless. So keep that in mind. Prismatic Ring of Resistance. This is going to give you some AC and some resist. Probably a low priority as a monk. But if you want the extra clicky, you can pick it up. Serrated Dart of Energy. It's pretty good clicky. It gives you 25 extra attack. I'd probably pick that up when you can. Next we have Silver Hoop of Speed. This is going to give you like a Bard Overhaste type effect. 5% attack speed. So it'll stack with like your regular version 2 haste. This is a version 3 haste. So if there's no Bard around, it's really nice to have one of those. Symbol of the Plane Masters. It's low priority. It's going to give you an extra proc. Just give you a little bit extra damage. It generates some threat too, so just keep that in mind. The Binden Coransada. This is a pretty good item for monks since they don't have gate. You can gate the Pock with this for some reagents that don't cost quite as much as a gate potion. So you can maybe bind somewhere else, use this to gate the Pock, or you do a little setup, something like that. I would recommend doing it as a monk, especially if you plan on going back to Plane of Knowledge a lot for a long period of time. And you don't play with like porters or anything. Or maybe your Origin's really bad. I think Ixar Origin's probably not that great, so this is also good for that. Next we have Tonpo's Mystical Pouch. This is the single best pulling item in the game for a really long time. It summons Trunkens of Eternity, which have a 250 range on them. You can launch these all the way across giant rooms, over hills, things like that. Definitely want to pick this up. Really good pulling tool. Veil of the Inferno, pretty low priority, but it's going to give you a little bit of extra health and give you 180 health in the form of an AA. And the last two items are from Eldon. We have Cloak of the Fleeting Foot. This is optional, and it's a right-click SAO, and you can cast it on anybody. And it only has a 3-second cast time. It's a fairly rare drop from Eldon that people don't run a whole lot. But it's a nice quality of life item, and it's fun to use. You can cast it on like level 1s and things like that. And lastly, we have Gloves of the Cauldron Curse. These are basically useless. They're just like a right-click pulling item, essentially. You see it cast Phantom Strike, but I figured I'd throw it on here because I'm including the class item from every other Eldon class. So just threw it on here, but you really don't need this. It's just completely optional. So that pretty much covers everything. Please make sure to like the video if you like it, and please subscribe. Okay, thanks guys. Bye.